You ever see your wife walk into your house wearing a jacket that doesn't belong to her, then toss it onto the couch like it does? That's how this starts. She walked in on a Tuesday. Jacket? Black leather. Too big for her frame. Inside pocket held a concert ticket. Not her name. Not mine. Just his. And the part that made me want to scream? I paid for that couch. I paid for her car. I paid off her student loans. And apparently, I also paid for some other dude to take her to see the Killers while I was stuck in a hotel in Cincinnati eating room service pasta after a client bailed. But hey, she said she didn't owe me an explanation. That's what she said when I held up the jacket and asked, calmly, "Whose is this?" No panic. No guilt. No fake story. Just, "I don't owe you an explanation." Like I was her landlord and she was 3 days late on rent. Like the last 9 years of my life were some forgotten Netflix series she quit watching halfway through. Now, you probably think I yelled. Flipped out. Broke a lamp. Nope. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the moment you realize your marriage has a third person in it, and you're the only one who didn't know, it doesn't feel real. It feels like a punchline to a joke no one told you. So I said, "Then I won't owe you anything either." I canceled her credit cards. I stopped covering her car insurance. I put a lock on the thermostat. Yes, really, it's Wi-Fi controlled. I even removed her from the family Netflix profile. Was it petty? Yes. But if I was going to be treated like an afterthought, I figured I might as well start acting like one. But that was just the beginning. What I didn't know was that this guy, the one with the jacket, wasn't the only one. And the real story, the one that would keep me up for weeks, it was hiding in plain sight. In our guest bathroom, inside a makeup bag I never thought to open. The jacket was just the opening act. You know how people say trust your gut? I never used to. I'm the type of guy who double-checks thermostat settings and expiration dates, but completely ignores the screaming sirens in my own brain. That night, after she tossed the jacket like it was no big deal, she went straight into the bathroom, humming, like I hadn't just questioned her about a strange man's clothes in our home. Like I was invisible in my own life. She closed the door, locked it, ran the fan, like she always did when she was getting ready for bed, except she never came back out in pajamas. She came out in full makeup, not the basic stuff. I'm talking red lipstick, gold eyeshadow, and the boots I once saw her say were too much for date night. Right then, I realized I wasn't her date. I was her alibi. She said, casually, meeting the girls, "You'll be asleep anyway." That's all. No kiss. No glance back. She left. And that's when I did something I never thought I would. I went into the bathroom. I wish I could say I found something shocking immediately. I didn't. I found mascara, face wash, nail polish, all her usual clutter. But then I saw it, a second makeup bag under the sink, zipped shut like it had something to hide. I opened it. Inside was a lipstick I didn't recognize, crimson, bold, and not cheap. That part's important. I know what I buy. I've bought her lipstick before, but this one was a brand I'd never seen. Wrapped around it, a receipt from a boutique downtown, dated 2 weeks ago. She hadn't been downtown in a month, or so she said. Next to it was a hotel key card. No hotel name, just a magnetic strip. And tucked in the back pocket of the makeup bag, folded carefully like it had been read a dozen times, was a handwritten note. Not from me. "You looked amazing last night." Still thinking about that moment in the elevator. R. Not Brad. Not any of the friends she claimed to hang out with. A new name. A new variable. My brain went quiet. Not panicked. Just cold. Like something inside me had shut off to protect the rest. She didn't come home until 3:14 a.m. I was still up. Lights off. Sitting in the living room like some overworked security guard on his last shift. She walked past me like I wasn't there. Just drifted down the hallway, heels clicking on the wood floor. In that moment, I didn't feel like a man. I felt like an idiot wearing a husband costume. And the worst part? I still wanted to believe there was a chance I was wrong. The next morning, she was cheerful. Made coffee. Scrolled her phone like everything was normal. I stared at her across the kitchen island, and all I could think about was that note. The elevator. The man who wasn't me. That's when I opened her laptop. I know. Privacy. Trust. Boundaries. But those things stop applying when someone rewrites the rules behind your back. I didn't find any emails. No texts. But I found something else. Her Google Maps timeline. And on the night she said she was at Maya's place watching a docuseries, she had pinged a location 45 minutes out of town. A boutique hotel. Not near any restaurant. Not near any bar. Just a hotel. That was all I needed to see. I closed the laptop. Sat there. Then calmly asked her, "Hey, when's the last time you saw Maya?" She didn't look up from her phone. Just replied, "Last night, duh. You were half asleep when I got in." I nodded. And that's when something in me changed. Because I realized I wasn't just being cheated on. I was being gaslit into funding it. People always say, once the trust is gone, the relationship's over. But they never tell you what to do when the trust is gone, and the mortgage, the health insurance, the furniture, and 5 years of tax returns are all still right there. What was I supposed to do? Light a match and walk out? No, I needed proof. Not to convince myself, I already knew, but to end it in a way that would leave no cracks she could crawl back through. I wanted her to admit it. I wanted her to choke on it. So, I did something I'm not proud of. I told her I had a work retreat. 3 nights. Company-paid cabin outside of Asheville. She smiled when I told her. Too quickly. Too easily. No questions. Just, "That's good. You need the break." Like she was giving me permission to leave so he could come over. But I never left. Instead, I used an old buddy's name to book a nearby Airbnb. One of those new builds they rent to influencers. Sleek wood, floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, the kind of place you can't sit in without feeling like you're part of a lifestyle brand. I set up my base there. I brought binoculars, energy drinks, and a GoPro I borrowed from my niece. I wasn't just playing detective, I was building a case. Night 1, nothing. She didn't leave the house. She ordered in. I watched from my car like an idiot, drinking lukewarm coffee, asking myself how my life had become a low-budget spy film. I went to sleep at 3 a.m. and woke up sore and angry at everything. Night 2, she went out, dressed in the same boots, same red lipstick, same careless hair flip. I followed her. She didn't go to Maya's. She didn't go to the gym. She didn't even go to the hotel from before. This time, she went to a condo complex on the far side of town. Gated. Expensive. I parked half a block away and watched her punch in a code like she'd done it 1,000 times. She stayed inside for exactly 3 hours. I watched the door like a hawk, camera rolling, car engine off. At 10:41 p.m., she came back out, wearing a different shirt. That's when I lost it. Not externally. Not yet. But internally, everything snapped. You know what's worse than getting lied to? Watching it happen in real time. Seeing the pieces fit together and realizing you're the only one who didn't have the picture until it was too late. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the footage over and over. Paused it. Zoomed in on the guy's building. Tried to read the number on his parking pass through my grainy footage. The video wasn't perfect, but it was enough. The next morning, I came home before she woke up. Sat at the kitchen table. She came out around 9, still yawning, in the same clothes from the night before, acting like everything was fine. "Hey babe," she said, pouring coffee. "How was the cabin?" I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone, opened the GoPro app, and slid it across the table. She looked down, played the video. Her face went white before the clip hit the 1-minute mark. I didn't yell, didn't accuse. I just said one sentence, calmly, like I was reading a weather report. "You need to tell me how long this has been going on. Because if you lie again, I'm not paying for a damn thing. Not the rent, not the car, not your lawyer when this blows up." She stared at me for 10 seconds. Then she looked away, took a breath, and said the one sentence I'll never forget. "I don't owe you an explanation." That was it. No denial, no apology, just that smug, final sentence. As if everything I had just done, everything I knew, was still somehow beneath her. And that's when the fear left me. The sadness too. Because in that moment, I realized she wasn't just unfaithful. She was unremorseful. And I was done financing her delusion. The moment she said she didn't owe me an explanation, it felt like something inside me calcified. Not anger, not heartbreak, something colder. I'd spent months, maybe years, trying to decode her distance, make excuses for the growing silence, and rationalize the unfamiliar perfume on her scarf. I bent over backwards trying to keep the marriage alive, and in 5 words, she killed it without flinching. I didn't even respond to her. I just stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out. But I didn't drive far. I parked 2 blocks down and just sat there, staring at my dashboard, realizing I had no plan beyond get proof and confront her. I had the confrontation, and she walked right through it like it was fog. She knew I wouldn't explode. She counted on my passivity. And she was right for a while. But that version of me was gone. She buried him herself. Back at the Airbnb, I did what I should have done months ago. I started digging. Not emotionally, not metaphorically. I really started digging. Financial records. Shared email accounts. Digital receipts. iCloud backups. You'd be surprised what you can still access when you're the one who set it all up. We had a joint credit account that she assumed I barely looked at. That was her first mistake. I found purchases going back nearly a year. Hotels, restaurants, rideshare charges that didn't match any events on our shared calendar. Once I knew what to look for, the timeline practically built itself. She hadn't just been unfaithful, she'd been consistent. Like it was a second job. Scheduled. Regular. Efficient. It was as methodical as it was brutal. Then came the email. It was in a shared Google Drive folder from an old freelance project we did together 3 years ago. She must have forgotten about it, or assumed I had. I only found it because I was checking every cloud account I could remember ever creating with her. Inside the folder was a document labeled Insurance Documents. But when I opened it, it wasn't about insurance. It was an exported Gmail thread between her and Ryan. Now here's the kicker. Ryan wasn't a stranger. He used to be my friend, college roommate, groomsman at our wedding, the guy who once helped me move apartments in the pouring rain. We hadn't spoken much in the last 2 years, not since he moved for work and dropped off the radar. She told me he was living on the West Coast now. Guess what? That condo she visited last week? It was his. I recognized the number from a photo I'd taken at his housewarming years ago. The email thread was months long. Flirty at first, then romantic, then graphic. And in the middle of one of the exchanges, I saw it. A PDF titled The Plan. I opened it with shaking hands. It wasn't just an affair. They were planning a life. A life after me. Details about splitting assets. Notes on how to keep things calm until the switch. Her words, not his. She even joked about how passive Ellis is. He'll probably just give up once it hits him. And then the line that finally broke whatever shred of sanity I had left. Once he covers my loans, I'll be free. He owes me that much after all those years of his complaining. Owes her? Owes her? I paid her way through grad school while working 60-hour weeks. I took care of her mother when she was sick. I held her when she cried about a miscarriage I didn't even know we were trying for. And now I was a stepping stone. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just stared at my laptop screen, rereading every message, every receipt, every subtle manipulation I'd once mistaken for mood swings or bad weeks. By morning, I was done being Ellis the winner. I logged into our bank accounts and started the process of locking everything down. I froze our joint credit line. I redirected her personal allowance account to a zero balance. I contacted the landlord and notified him I'd be moving out by the end of the month and that I'd no longer be responsible for her half of the lease. Then I drafted a simple message. Not to her. To Ryan. I know. I've seen everything. I'm not yelling. I'm not begging. But I'll make sure you both feel this. I sent it. No signature. No explanation. Just like they gave me. And I meant every word. I didn't expect Ryan to reply. Cowards rarely do. And for 24 hours, he didn't. But on the second day, I got a text from an unknown number. Let's talk. In person. He didn't sign it. Didn't need to. I knew that arrogance anywhere. I told him to name the place. He chose a bar we used to frequent back in college, not far from where this whole mess began. It was a Tuesday, early evening, quiet. Perfect for a war without witnesses. When I walked in, he was already there, seated at the far end of the bar, drinking something expensive, dressed like a man who hadn't worked an honest job in a while. He looked up, gave me a nod like this was some kind of awkward high school reunion. No guilt. No shame. Just that hollow smugness I used to mistake for charm. I didn't sit. Why her? I asked, skipping the small talk. He sighed, like I was wasting his time. Ellis, you know what she's like. You complained constantly about her in college. You were always annoyed. Always tired. That was his angle. My attitude. Like I had emotionally pushed her into his bed by being a functioning adult. I clenched my fists. Took a breath. I told myself not to make a scene, not to start something I couldn't finish. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth. But what he gave me wasn't what I expected. She told me you were cheating first, he said casually. Said you were emotionally absent, maybe even messing around with someone at work. She made it sound like you two were already over, just coexisting. I laughed. loud enough for people to glance over. She said I was cheating? She said a lot of things, he replied. I steady now. Told me you were manipulative, controlling, that you wouldn't let her have a voice, that you threatened to cut her off if she ever tried to leave. It didn't hit me at first, but as I stood there, trying to find a way to respond, something in my chest twisted. She hadn't just betrayed me physically. She hadn't just disrespected me financially. She'd been rewriting our history, playing the victim, preloading excuses for her affair by poisoning my name. Ryan didn't feel guilty because he didn't think he was taking something from me. He thought he was rescuing her from me. The audacity of it all nearly knocked me off balance. And in that moment, I realized something even darker. She'd been building this exit plan for a long time, not just with Ryan, but with narratives, prepping her escape by crafting a version of me that people wouldn't defend. If it ever went public, she'd already have her story. Ellis was cold. Ellis was distant. Ellis didn't care. And Ryan would be her first alibi. I sat down then, not because I wanted to talk, but because I needed to think, fast. I asked him, "How long have you two been planning to move in together?" He hesitated. "Just long enough. There's no official plan." "Not yet," he said. "She's figuring things out." She said you were still providing things. She didn't want to lose that until she was stable. My hands trembled under the table. She was milking me for security while building her new life on a bed of lies. Lies that were now spreading to people I once called brothers. And then came the real twist. Ryan leaned in, lowered his voice, and said, "You should also know, you weren't the first." At first I thought I misheard. He continued, "There was someone else before me. She told me. Guy from her grad program. Older. Married. Said it was a mistake, but honestly, now I'm wondering if it was just habit." Everything in me went quiet. Cold. Not shocked, just hollow. I didn't even ask for details. I stood up, dropped a 20 on the bar for whatever he was drinking, and walked out into the night like I'd just walked off a cliff and hadn't hit the ground yet. I drove aimlessly for almost an hour, my mind spinning. Every memory, every kiss, every stupid shared playlist and anniversary card felt counterfeit now. How many years had I been her backup plan? Her financier? Her placeholder until something better came along. And then I remembered something, an old voicemail. From months ago, one I'd saved and forgotten. She was drunk. It was late. I'd been out of town, and she called sobbing, saying she didn't know who she was anymore. That she was becoming someone she didn't recognize. That she was so sorry. I chalked it up to stress. A bad week. But now it felt like a confession I hadn't understood in time. And if there was a version of her I didn't know, I was going to find out exactly who I'd married. No more assumptions. No more emotional blindfolds. I was going to uncover every hidden corner of her life. And what I discovered next, it made everything else look like child's play. I didn't go home that night. After leaving the bar, I drove until the roads blurred into dark silence. I didn't have a destination. I just needed to exist somewhere that wasn't wrapped in her scent, her lies, her routines. Around 2 a.m., I parked outside a 24-hour diner, got coffee I didn't drink, and started writing. Not a letter, not a goodbye, a timeline. Every receipt, location, password, message. I lined it all up. I created a digital trail that mapped the entire betrayal from its quiet beginnings to its delusional climax. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about truth. About reclaiming reality from someone who had rewritten it in her favor. By dawn, I knew what I was going to do. When I got back to the house, Callie was asleep. I stood in the doorway and watched her, peacefully dreaming, as if she hadn't detonated our life and left me holding the shrapnel. I waited until she woke up. No drama, no noise. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a flash drive next to a folded sheet of paper. She walked in, hair messy, wearing my t-shirt. The irony didn't even sting anymore. "Hey," she said, rubbing her eyes. "Did you just get back?" I looked up at her with the calmest face I've ever worn. "Sit down." She blinked. Hesitated. "Ellis, what's going on?" "Sit down." She obeyed. Slowly, like she could feel something heavy shifting in the air, but didn't know what it was yet. I slid the flash drive toward her. "This is everything. All of it. You can open it if you want, but I'd rather you listen to me first." She looked down at it like it might explode. "I know about Ryan. I know about the guy from grad school. I know about the hotel, the condo, the burner card you keep in your gym bag. The fake receipts you created to hide the rideshare charges. I know about the lie you told him, that I was some cold, manipulative control freak. I even know you've been stashing money in a separate account under your cousin's name. So don't waste energy pretending you're shocked. Her face dropped. Not like a bomb hit her. More like gravity slowly pulled her soul out of her. No, I interrupted. You had your chance to explain. I gave you every opportunity. You chose silence. You chose arrogance. You chose to treat me like an obstacle instead of a partner. So now you'll sit there and let me finish. She folded her arms, but her jaw was trembling. I continued. You know what the worst part is? Not the sex, not the lies, not even the fact that you used me like a credit card with a pulse. No, the worst part was how good you got at it. How easily you looked me in the eyes every night, kissed me, laughed at my stupid jokes, all while planning your next escape route. You weren't just cheating. You were rehearsing. She didn't speak, so I leaned forward. I sent Ryan the proof. I sent it to your sister too, the one who defended you every time you said I was too sensitive. I even sent it to the lawyer whose name you scribbled on the notepad you thought I'd never see. And guess what? I booked an appointment with him. Tomorrow. You won't need to use him. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something. Maybe an apology. Maybe another lie. But I beat her to it. And here's the part you'll really hate. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to stoop to the level where you live now. Because when this ends, and it will end, I want you to know that you weren't destroyed by a monster. You were undone by your own choices. I stood up, walked to the door. She finally whispered, "Why are you doing this like a business transaction?" I turned around. Because for you, it was a business transaction. You calculated everything. My income, my insurance, my predictability. You didn't love me. You leased me. I left her sitting there, alone in the kitchen we built together. The flash drive still sitting on the table like a silent witness. But just when I thought I had seen the full picture, just when I thought I had uncovered every lie, that afternoon, I got an email. Not from her. Not from Ryan. Not from anyone I expected. It was from a name I hadn't seen in years. One I had almost erased from my life. And what he told me, it made me realize I had only uncovered half the truth. When I saw the name in my inbox, I froze. Not because I didn't recognize it. I did. But because I'd buried that part of my life so deep, I thought it was never coming back. The email wasn't just a message from someone I hadn't heard from in years. It was a message from someone I never expected to contact me again. The name was Clara Winters. Clara was more than just a person from my past. She was the one who got away. The one who I never thought I'd be able to forget. She was my first love, the girl who somehow vanished the moment I got serious with Callie. It wasn't a bitter breakup or a fight. It was more like she faded out of my life, slipping away quietly like a forgotten chapter in a book. I had no idea why she was reaching out now. But the subject line of the email was what really made my heart race. I know about Callie. I clicked open the email before my brain could process it. It was short. Too short. But every word felt like a punch to the gut. Ellis, I don't know how much you figured out, but I've been watching. Callie hasn't changed. She's been playing you both, and I'm the one who helped her start this game. You're in deeper than you think. She's been using you for more than just money. I can prove everything. Please, if you're ready, let's talk. Clara. I read it 3 times, and I couldn't breathe. The first thing that hit me? She's been using you for more than just money. I had known about the affair. I had known about her financial manipulation. But what did she mean by more than money? I didn't know what to think. Was Clara telling the truth? Was she playing me too? Or was she the one who could finally give me the answers that had been eating away at me for months? I didn't know if I was ready to meet Clara again, but I couldn't ignore the possibility that she might hold the key to unraveling everything. So I replied, "Meet me. Same place as before. I need to understand what's going on." We agreed to meet the next day at a little coffee shop on the edge of town, the kind of place with a cracked window and bad Wi-Fi, but where time felt like it moved slower. I couldn't stop thinking about what Clara had said in her email, wondering what more Callie had been doing. Had she planned all of this from the beginning? Was I always just a means to an end? The next day, I walked into the cafe, heart racing. She was sitting in a corner booth, wearing the same black jacket she had on the last time I saw her, almost a lifetime ago. Clara hadn't changed. She was still that same wild, unpredictable force that had pulled me into her world years ago. She looked up when I sat down. "You look like shit," she said, almost with affection. I didn't respond right away. I was too busy trying to process why she was here, why she had contacted me now. Clara, what the hell is going on? What do you know about Callie? Her eyes flickered, but she didn't hesitate. Callie's been running a game on you, Ellis. And I know because I was the one who helped her get started. She paused, watching me carefully. Before she met you, she was with someone else. Someone wealthy. He was older, more established, a big-time investor. He taught her how to play the long game, how to find someone who could provide stability while keeping the other guy on the hook for the luxuries she wanted. She learned how to lie, manipulate, and take everything she could without anyone noticing. And then she moved on to you. I stared at her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She didn't love you, Ellis, Clara continued. She never did. Not in the way you think. You were always just a way to keep the lifestyle going until she found someone better. And when you became a bit too predictable, she needed a backup plan. That's when Ryan came in. That's when the lies started. I felt like the room was spinning. But why? Why did she do this? Why me? Clara leaned back, letting out a sigh. You were her safety net. You were never supposed to question her. She wanted to live in a world where she had everything she wanted, and she wasn't willing to risk losing it. But the truth is, Ellis, she's been doing this for years. You were just the latest mark. I sat back, trying to process everything she was saying. It made sense, but it also didn't. How could someone I had loved, someone I had trusted, have been playing me this entire time? Clara watched me, as if waiting for the pieces to fall into place. And they did, but not how I expected. I knew about her affair with Ryan, Clara said, her voice low. I was the one who warned him about her, and about you. But the thing is, you were never the problem. You never were. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. What do you mean? Callie's been running this con for so long. She forgot who she was, Clara said, looking me in the eye. She's been using you for everything you're worth. And the thing that terrifies her the most? It's that you'll find out the truth, the one thing she's been hiding from you the entire time. Clara stood up, ready to leave, but before she walked away, she dropped one last bombshell. She's pregnant, Ellis. I was speechless. My heart pounded in my chest. Pregnant? Clara's voice softened, and for a moment, she almost looked like she cared. Callie's been playing both of you, and this time, she's already planning the next step. But you need to decide whether you're going to keep being her pawn, or whether you're going to take control and walk away. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. Everything I thought I knew about my life had just been shattered in one conversation. The next few days were a blur. My mind kept racing, trying to catch up with everything I had learned. The lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. But amidst all that chaos, something strange began to happen. I started to feel a shift in me, a shift I didn't expect. I realized that all this time, I had been reacting to Callie, reacting to her decisions, her lies, her manipulations. I had allowed myself to become a passive participant in my own life, waiting for her to change or for the truth to reveal itself. But the truth had been right in front of me for so long. I couldn't change the past, but I could choose how to move forward. And that realization gave me more peace than anything else. So, I decided to confront Callie, not to scream, not to punish her, but to speak my truth, and to finally take control of my own future. It was a Saturday morning when I called her. I asked her to meet me at a park, the place where we had once spent hours talking and dreaming about our future. It felt like the right place to finally bring closure, to show her that I had moved beyond the man who had begged for answers and the one who was stuck in the past. When she showed up, her face was pale, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and disbelief. I could tell she had expected me to react, to confront her with anger, to make her pay for everything she had done. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. Ellis, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. I looked at her, and for the first time, I felt no pain, no anger, just a quiet understanding. Callie, I said, my voice steady. I'm not here to scream at you. I'm not here to make you feel worse. I'm here because I've realized something. I can't change what happened. I can't change what you did. But I can choose what happens next, and I choose to let this go. I choose to let you go. Her eyes widened. I could see the shock on her face, the realization that I wasn't going to fight for her anymore. You're right, I continued. You never loved me the way I loved you. And that's okay. But I have to let go of the version of you I thought I knew. I have to let go of the idea of who I thought we were. I'm moving on, and I'm going to find peace." She stood there, speechless, her face pale as if the wind had been knocked out of her. She tried to speak, but I stopped her. "Callie," I said softly, "you don't owe me any more explanations. The only thing you need to do now is figure out who you are and what kind of life you want to live. As for me, I'm going to rebuild. Not for you, not for anyone else, but for me." And with that, I turned and walked away. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a grand exit. It was just the end of a chapter, and the beginning of something better. The next few months were a whirlwind. I moved out of the house we had once shared and found a new place. One that felt like mine, one that wasn't tainted by the lies. I focused on my work, on my friends, on my family. I took up hiking, something I'd always wanted to do, and started visiting the mountains every weekend to clear my mind and reconnect with the things I loved. But the most important thing I did, I forgave myself. For so long, I had blamed myself for everything. I had convinced myself that I wasn't enough, that I was the problem. But as I walked through the process of healing, I realized the truth. I wasn't the problem. I was just a man who had been in the wrong place, trusting the wrong person. And now, I was free. One day, a couple of months later, I got a message from Clara. She had been checking in every so often, just making sure I was okay. We didn't get back together, but I appreciated her reaching out. She was the one who helped me see the truth when I was drowning in the lies. And then there was Ryan. I had a final conversation with him too, not to seek revenge, but to let him know that I had moved on. He was a pawn in all of this, just like I was. He had his own battles to fight, and I wished him well. No hatred, no anger, just a clean slate. In the end, the biggest victory wasn't the confrontation or the emotional closure. It wasn't the decision to walk away from a marriage that had no foundation. The biggest victory was reclaiming my life, my life. Not the one I thought I had to live because of someone else, but the one I could build for myself. As for Callie, I never saw her again. I heard through mutual friends that she eventually left town, that she was starting fresh, trying to build something of her own. And I genuinely hoped she found the peace she was searching for, just as I had. But for me, I had finally found the one thing that mattered the most. Myself. And that, in the end, was the most important thing I could ever have.